Come on, BTC. Come on, BTC.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan and today is another Simple Signal stream. Doing it a bit earlier today because I've heard some things, it's a bit late for some people, people around the world. Someone's waking up right now, someone's going to sleep right now. So I understand it's a bit late for some people. Most of our viewership, it might be quite late for you guys, so I want to do it a bit earlier, in the day. Obviously it's only an hour, but, time zones and whatnot. But hopefully, you're here and hopefully it's a good time for you. So welcome to the stream, everybody, each and every one of you. I can see all the comments. Hello to Kishan as well, especially. Hello to Kishan. And I'm not going to go waffle on too long in the intro. Go to the descriptions, many links in the description, depending where you are. Go check them out. There's more important ones than others, but in general, just go check the links out. And I think that's about it. If you want any indicators which are on the stream, they are free. Simple significance especially. Because it is our indicator as Crypto Warehouse. So if you do want to get that, go to the link in the description to the T and M place, the paper airplane. Come message us there and ask for it, and I'll send it over. But I think other than that, I think we should just get into it. This happens every single time. Just before a stream, something exciting happens. Something crazy happens. Something happens within the day of the stream. Today is no different. Today's stream, as every other stream, nothing is out of the ordinary. Because every single stream, either we've crashed a ton or we've come up a ton during either the day. Pretty much the day, actually. It doesn't really happen. So, obviously today, as you might be able to see on the screen, hopefully, let me refresh the page fully. I don't want any mistakes like the last time. $70,873. We are moving rapidly right now for Bitcoin. So we are going to get into that pretty soon, very, very soon. I'm not going to spend too much time. So saying hello, how are you? I'm very good, thank you. How are you? Hopefully you're doing well, as with everyone else. But yeah, so I think we'll get into it. Obviously, I do want to look at some percentages. So, we've been going up pretty crazy in 24 hour. As I said, during the day, it happens every single time I stream. This is how you know I'm such a powerful force within crypto, the community and as a whole, because whenever the power of my stream can orchestrate that the coin will do something, it always happens. Every single time, it always happens. Whether we've crashed, I always say this, whether we crash or have a flash crash or we come up a ton, it always happens. Or most of the time happens when I'm back stream. So it's clearly the anticipation of my stream for the day that people just go crazy and then buy Bitcoin like this. So, but anyway, I'm not going to joke around enough. I'm not going to 4chain. I don't know enough about it. I'm not going to bother. I've joked about it too long. I'm just going to move on to the chart. So, first chart is Bitcoin. Main coins we go through: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I think I'm looking at Flocky as well, and Slurf actually. So we've actually got 5 coins today. Obviously, I know normally on stream I only look at 3 coins. So we're looking at those 5 main coins. So if you do have a coin for me to look at, any coins to suggest, then do put it in the comments. But I won't do as many as I normally do. Obviously, because we've got more coins to cover generally, which is Flocky and Slurf, which I believe we actually had a Slurf video come out today, actually, from Mike. So if you have watched that, then this is going to be my side of everything, which is the trading and chart analysis. We did look at the charts though on Saturday. We did have a quick, I had a quick glance on stream at Slurf and the website, and I think it is a pile of crap. I don't understand why everyone's so excited about it. But we're going to look at the chart anyway, because it doesn't really matter what the chart looks like, or what the website looks like. It just matters of how much it costs and if it's going up or down. So anyway, let's get into Bitcoin first. We are moving crazy. We are moving pretty crazy. So let's have a little look at what's going on. So let's move some things out of the way. It does get a bit messy time for time. I'm going to hide everything for now, and I'm just going to show what's been going on from what I've drawn. Obviously, we will look at some significance. I would love to say the best support and resistance drawing indicator on TradingView, but that would be completely biased because it is my indicator or Crypto Warehouse's indicator. So again, like I said, if you do want to have it, it's not going to give you 100 grand worth of money to after 5 minutes of using it, but it does help. It is easy. It makes the things a bit easier, especially for me anyway. But anyway, 100 is all-time high incoming. Let's hope so. Hopefully, based on the charts I can look at right now, hopefully it does provide analysis which does suggest we should reach all-time highs. Hopefully. GHX requested. All right, I'll write it down. GHX. I will look at that. I will look at that after everything else. So let's look at what I have drawn already. So obviously some of the certificates, I do use that, but I want to hide everything on the main screen. I was actually saw this before stream. I'm going to talk about this as well. We're on the 1 hour. I will look at the 4 hour as well because it doesn't, it's the jump between the 1 hour and the 4 hour. It does, it helps. Obviously, looking at the day, it's great and all, but it's slow. I don't want to look at it every single stream. If I look at the day, because nothing really changes too crazy. But anyway, what we have on the screen. So we have, we actually came above this line, which was kind of resistance over here, which it was kind of I think it was one of those passing lines, which I drew like maybe back over here. But the most important one was this breaker block, which we had, which I don't know when we used it. It was probably over here. We've been using it pretty heavily. So I've been swapping it between bullish and bearish. But currently, obviously, we were below it, so it was bearish. If I go on the 30-minute, or the lower time frames, I'm wondering if we entered back into it at any point. It looks like we did. We bounced into it. Yeah, so this is the 1 minute. Obviously, this doesn't matter. But normally in breaker block situations, you touch it, you have a quick move upwards, and then enter back into it, and then use it as support. But obviously, that was on the 1 minute. Let's not look at that. But anyway, it was bearish. Now it is bullish. It's going to be as a support. I think it was actually a bearish order block, so now it's going to be a bullish breaker block. But it doesn't really matter. It's bullish anyway. It doesn't really matter. It's just like a supply or demand zone. But anyway, it was being used as a supply zone. Yeah, it was using it as a supply zone for quite a while. Between quite a couple of days, maybe like a week. I'm not going to count how many specific days, but we've actually surpassed it now with this huge move upwards. So now it's going to be bearish, which is a good sign. Obviously, this line, again, like I said, it's a passing line. So this, I'm just going to pay attention to 68,700 is the top line of this breaker block. But, regardless, it doesn't really matter. That is just going to be something to bear in mind. Now, coming up is the next bearish breaker block, which we haven't quite reached yet, but it's at $71,500. So I drew this back here. It was pretty good, actually. Actually, I could probably move this down a bit. Where's the midline? Okay, there we go. Let me move it a tiny bit down, actually, because it's more accurate if it's a bit down. But you can see here, it's basically here. But it was being used as support. Obviously, we slipped below this. Like I said at the time, we ignored it because it came down to this support point, which was bullish at the time. But this was when everything crashed rapidly and came back up. So I said at the time, you could ignore this movement because it was so invalid that it didn't matter. So we could ignore this and basically act like we were just moving above it. Obviously, in typical, breaker block form, came below it was an order block, but we came below the order block to form this breaker block, where basically we entered back into the order block and confirmed it as a breaker block, and aka confirmed it as resistance, and then came all the way below. So we haven't actually touched it since. So I'm excited to see what happens. I'm pretty sure we're going to use it as resistance, and it's going to probably be pretty strong at that. But it does depend on what happens with the market. If we're going to we could just surge above it, because breaker blocks, they can go between bullish and bearish. Obviously, they should be used as a bit of resistance, and then it happens. It should be like if you punch a door enough, you'll eventually form a hole. That's kind of this situation. If you bounce a trampoline with enough force and sharpness long enough, you're going to cut through it. Same with this kind of door scenario. So we haven't really touched it, so I'm expecting some sort of resistance there. But just that's in passing, I suppose. So Mark Cypher, these are some EMAs. You can kind of ignore this. These are just arbitrary numbers. I think what numbers I have. It's some source I've got. I do like using these. Okay, so I'm not gonna give it away, but they are based on fib levels and whatnot and other things. But I just want to quickly look at them. We are kind of escaping it a bit. The highest up one, which I believe is I will give away this. I have used it. I think it's a 21 day. This one. I love using 21 day EMA. It's actually at the midpoint of the breaker block. The midpoint and above, when it's bullish anyway, which it is right now, the midpoint and above of a breaker block is normally where you see the resistance point be at before we come upwards. Obviously, it can go below, but as you can see here, it was above at this point, but it does bounce off the midpoint, as you can see here. It does bounce off the lower point. Like I said, it doesn't not ever bounce off the high point, as you can see here. We did bounce off the high points. but normally it's at the midpoint. So our EMA, for example, this EMA is at the midpoint. And why this is important, obviously, well, quick, before I go on to Mark Cipher B, I'll go on to the simple significance and just see what naturally occurring support and resistance points are. So since I'm so great, and I know I'm so great, and the simple significance, which is the greatest ever indicator on the entirety of TradingView, also backs up my statement of this being support and resistance at here. I also had this previously drawn. This was another order block area, which is also now a support point. I had this order block area, which I can expand outwards, which is also an order block support area. So this, I know I'm great, but simple significance is basically backing up my statements of these order blocks pretty consistently. And then down here, I had this huge area. I don't know why I had this area. I'm not gonna lie. It's probably some sort of support point. Yeah, it's probably a support point on like the 4 hour or something. But basically, I already drawn this, and the lower point of it is also a support point. But yeah, anyway, let's carry on. So basically, all my order blocks, which I've already drawn, are support points based on simple significance. So what I'm going to do, I am going to draw in. Okay, well, this is we've already kind of seen this before, so I'm not going to. This isn't going to be anything crazy. I'm actually going to draw probably a rectangle because it's Okay, I can't do that, but I'll do this instead. I'm actually going to make it like red, so we can see it pretty easily, like that. And I'm going to hide it. Actually, I'm going to make this a bit better. So this is the high point of where we've seen previously. Obviously, I did it give it a bit of padding, which is fine. So I just wanted to draw that. So basically, we've got support points in green and whatnot. You know what? I like the idea of having green like that. Let me do that. There we go. So positive order blocks, and then bearish breaker block. It's not an order block per se, but it's just negative, so I'm not going to draw anything like an order block. But we do have our negative areas and our positive areas here, and then some differential lines in between. Obviously, we have where we are right now. If we've got something, we are at a support resistance kind of area. Could we back up where we're bouncing off by anything? I mean, obviously, we're going to have hoverage, so I'm going to ignore it for now. So I'm just going to leave it as it is, showing this top breaker block, which we have right here. So now I can move on to Mark Cipher B. As the chart's a bit cleaner, we know what's going on now. We know our kind of top points and lower points of where the price should go. Obviously, this being, I should probably have numbers in there because it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. But about 71.7, and obviously up here 73.7, 73.8 up here. This 74.4 line was actually Flux PL. I think, okay, Flux, if that's a token, I'll look at that. But again, like I said, I don't want to look at too many, so I will record it down there. But like I said, this top line, I'm actually going to change the color of it, just to make it a bit more obvious. This purple, pinkish line. This line up here was the actual line we saw for the bull pennant, which Mike drew as well. Even though I drew it before Mike, I'm going to say that I drew it before Mike. But I think I was actually the first one to draw it, from what I saw anyway. Obviously, I'd have to go on about it. I know I'm great. But I did see a bullish pennant. Obviously, we did. I was talking about it quite a while ago. Basically said, I think the pennant was, I can't remember where the pennant was, but we hovered. We didn't actually break up from it, but it was still a line to consider because everyone else was considering it. I did have long talks about, what's the word for it? Like, fulfilling prophecies, self-fulfilling prophecies and whatnot. But regardless, I'm not going to that again. But this is the top line. This is the top. What I was getting to, 74.4 is our top line, which we do have, which we're going to probably see some sort of resistance at. But I'm not saying, it's going to be anything crazy above that. I'm not saying it's going to stop us completely and we're going to go all the way down to about 60,000, but just pointing it out. So anyway, I'm going to go on to Mark Cipher now. So this is a bit interesting, which it's nothing crazy to see. So I'm gonna say what's going on in Mark Cipher B on the 1 hour, and then go to the 4 hour and look at Mark Cipher. I don't really do too much TA on the 1 and 4 hour because the 1 and the 4 hour you can kind of apply what I've done on the 1 hour to the 4 hour. 1 hour is kind of just a more in-depth look, but Mark Cipher B does change quite a bit on the 4 hour, so that's why we look at it. But anyway, I think my analysis is going to be very quick on this. We're above the 60 line pretty rapidly. We're actually nearing the 100 mark, which is when things are critical mass, basically. Obviously, we have crossed over, having a negative momentum now. VWAP is negative and coming down. Money flow, however, is not coming down yet. So we probably still have tiny bit of movement upwards. We're still technically in a positive trend based on the fact that our momentum, money flow is coming upwards. But soon we probably should see some downwards, falling for money flow. This is the 1 hour, so my analysis could change based on the 4 hour. So I'm just prefacing what I can say right now. Within the next couple of candles, maybe very small amount of candles, we should see negative movement. Obviously, I know we're seeing a negative candle now, but it's probably just a quick wick down. But we should see negative movement if things are going how they're going right now for Mark Cypher. Because VWAP changes first, then momentum changes first. So after consecutive movements in a certain direction of the VWAP, the money flow or the momentum starts to move in that direction. So as you can see, I talked about this a ton. VWAP changes to come downwards. It's constantly been going downwards. The momentum is now, and ever since that mark here, you can see that this blue line, basically the difference between these two EMA points. So if you've ever used the MACD, it's a similar kind of analysis based on two different momentum waves. You can see from this point of the VWAP coming downwards that this blue line is starting to shrink upwards, or shrink anyway, as they get closer to come to cross. So as we have consecutive movement of that, as our momentum has consecutive movement, downwards, money flow should start to come downwards, and then we'll actually be in a confirmed downwards trend and probably come back towards 69.2 or 68.7, whatever. Again, that's the 1 hour. We're going to now move on to the 4 hour to see what Mark Cypher is saying over here. So this, okay. So what I'm probably going to say about this, I think we might reach our breaker block based on the fact, we have gone up our momentum. We are now very high above. Also, yeah, actually, I forgot to say out loud. I will also look at Manta. I will not be looking at many more coins though. And if there are more coins people really want me to look at, I will look at the coins really fast. I'm not going to spend too much time on them. So Manta, I will look at Manta, but I'm not really going to look at many more. Anyway, back to Mark Cypher anyway. So we can see, momentum, it's above the 60 mark. We're starting to become in a situation where we're slightly overbought or a confirmed overbought scenario where if we started to become, negative, we would actually come down properly. However, VWAP is coming upwards and it's positive. Money flow is coming upwards. Momentum is still coming upwards. Even though we're at the 60 mark, we're above, we're still coming upwards. So we still have positive movement. So my judgment is going to be, I think we might see ourselves come upwards towards the breaker block and then bounce off it. So even though we're very, very negative over here, within the 1 hour, okay, so this is what it is. So obviously there's 1 hours within one 4 hour candle. So obviously I'm not saying anything crazy there, but basically what I think is going to happen is within the 4 hour, we're basically going to continue to be green and moving upwards. However, I think on the 1 hour, we might see something like this, where we kind of come upwards, we're going to hover a bit downwards and then come upwards towards there. Basically on the 4 hour, it's basically, we're not going to see that part, basically. We're not going to see this part of the, so I'm going to change the color of this. We're not going to see that part of the movement on the 4 hour, obviously, because the 4 hour isn't as in depth as the 1 hour, and it kind of is just more of a general thing. So I think on the 1 hour, we're going to see kind of something like this, where we might come down a bit due to the fact our momentum, or our market cipher is so negative right now. I think on the 4 hour, we're probably just going to continue to move upwards to the bearish breaker block. However, we are pretty overbought right now on market cipher. So if our VWAP starts to come downwards, things will start to come downwards, and then we basically in turn, I think when we reach the breaker block, we'll probably see some sort of resistance and then maybe come downwards. But again, if we have really huge positive kind of signs on either the price action or market cipher anyway, then we could come above it. Because that can happen. Like I said previously, we haven't really used it as resistance. We haven't really used it too hard as resistance. However, we can surge above it, use it as support, and then continue to come upwards. So I think we'll see resistance in it, but I don't want to confirm it completely because of the fact that we can surge above it. But I do think we're going to see short term within the hour, like a resistance. We're going to fall down a bit. And then, so nothing serious. If you're an in-depth trader who trades throughout the day, then maybe you could take something on the Bitcoin, but it's not going to do anything. It's not going to move too crazy. Like it's only going to move down, maybe a percentage move down, and then go upwards again. So 25%. If you did 25x, 25% could be pretty good. But again, it's not fully confirmed. Money flow isn't coming down yet. But like I said, we're basically 2 out of 3 on the checklist of market cipher. So, money flow coming down, or momentum coming down, fiat coming down. As soon as money flow starts to come down, we should see price properly come down. But obviously, we are coming down right now. But this is, the candle only printed, candle printed 24 minutes ago. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do with the other coins, and then we're going to come back to Bitcoin and see what's going on. But that's what I think is going to happen. I think on the 4 hour, we're just going to move upwards towards the break of lock, and then maybe come downwards, possibly see what's going to happen. But on the 1 hour, I think we're going to have some slight move downwards and then come upwards. Again, like I said, we're not going to see this too much on the 4 hour because of the fact it's, we have 4 hours worth of one candle on the 4 hour. So yeah, that's kind of it for Bitcoin. Hopefully we should surge above and then, kind of continue. But anyway, let's go on to Ethereum now. As per, our next coin. So let's see what's going on. So, let's see. Okay, there's tons of lines. Why is there so many lines? I don't know why there's so many lines. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, we're on the 4 hour to begin with. There's a lot of lines, which I'm not liking, but regardless. So, similar situation. Let's jump to Flux. No, I'm not going to jump to Flux right now. I'm doing my other coins and then going to Flux. I'm not going to go straight away to Flux. But anyway, so we had to break a block. Let me just, because what I need to do, I need to look at the charts and what I've drawn to know what's going on and then continue. So we did have this break of block, similar to how Bitcoin had. It was bullish, then bearish, then bullish. So it was bullish, but I haven't looked at the charts since. So it seemed like we surged below it, used it as slight resistance. Obviously, we kind of invalidated it. But then we had the same situation. Obviously, we had different resistance points below. Used the midpoint, perfectly as resistance. And then we've like everything else, we've surged above it. So it's probably going to be, I'm going to leave that as bullish breaker. Oh no, yeah, we'll leave it as bullish breaker because we're above it still. We're not using it as resistance. So that's fine. There's tons of lines, which I might have to remove some because it's very messy. Let's see what some of the significance is saying. So we've actually got another support point here. It's actually directly in the middle of these two support resistance points, which is interesting. So anyway, I'll leave that up because it's not too messy. See what Mark Suffer is saying as well. So yeah, we're quite far away. Obviously, our 21 day is moving up, try and catch up to us. Obviously, right now it's at our breaker block. So if we came all the way back down, we'll still have support points, but the EMA is going to be the support point, which will be the top of our breaker block, which will be, obviously, as per my drawings. But we don't really look at Mark's after too much anyway. So I think what I'm going to do actually is look to see if there's anything significant in between here and this top line here, which I don't know if there's going to be properly, but we can see anyways. Nothing really. I mean, there's this actually, to be fair, a small looking wall bar. And this is pretty accurate actually, because you can see the candles are exactly the same in terms of their height, which is perfect. Completely perfect for order block scenario. So that is actually important, which we actually nearly used it as resistance there anyway. So that's going to be negative there. So let's just draw that quickly. So we do have another resistance point before we reach all the way up here. What else have we got? We've got lines. Yeah, we slipped quite far below. Obviously 4,000. So I'm not going to look at it too much. I might remove this line. I can't bother to have that on my screen right now. Yeah, this 38,000 is looking pretty nice as support, as resistance. I mean, because this was perfect over here. This is also slightly accurate in terms of it being an order block, but I'm going to ignore it because we've already got our simple significance up there anyway. So we do have 38,000 as a pretty good resistance point. These are perfectly on the 2% mark. And I always ramble on about 2% and front running support and resistance points. Me and Mike talk about it on streams all the time. You never want to put your resistance or your stop loss or take profit directly on a support or resistance point. You want to kind of do it, a bit before or a bit after, depending on what, if it's support or resistance. So that's why our support and resistance zones, which we have on our indicator, which is free if you want to go get it automatically draws these 2% paddings to demonstrate to you what it looks like. So you can see, as we were using it, we probably used it support a bit over here. We used it support. The lowest we wicked down, but our printout was at these 2% marks. Obviously, we used it as our printout on, in terms of the reverse, which is resistance. We also used it on the 2% mark. So, it's pretty good. It does work pretty well. Obviously, it is dynamically drawing, so, you do want to bear in mind, if you want to see it over a longer period of time, you're going to have to go on the higher trading times. Because on the one, you can't go all the way back here on the 1 hour because there's only a certain amount of things you can draw. But anyway, let me go back to here. So as I was saying, we've got this order block currently here, which is very close to where we are right now, which we slightly front ran as a resistance point, I suppose you can call it. And then the next one up, I see 38,000, and then obviously we've got this, mess up here. I might remove this, even though it is actually, this is looking very nice as maybe some sort of order block down here. Let me quickly draw it in just to see if it matches up. We used it as support because it was there. Boom, support, came down, kind of fluctuated back in and came down again. So I actually will use that as well as resistance. I see someone say, how to become a member? I believe if you go to, I don't know if it's just below the stream, but if you go and click on our channel name, near the subscribe button, I think there might be a member button. So if you do want to go join as a member, which would be very helpful to us, thank you very much for the suggestion of support. Obviously, I do always say this, just being here and commenting and being part of the stream, spending your time is just enough support for me anyway. But I believe if you go to our channel, go to the main area, I believe there's a member button somewhere there. But anyway, back to this. So that does seem like a possible order block area. It probably is a breaker block actually, because we did surge, obviously we were kind of using it as support, surged below, tested back into it, and then came below as resistance. So we do have some lines above us. So I don't think we're going to surge all the way back to 40,000. But if Bitcoin starts to break all these resistance points, which it could do, because we're in a crazy time right now, and we are bullish. I don't like to be negative in a bullish situation, but things can't go up forever. But like I said, that's why I want to go check back on Bitcoin at 9 o'clock to see what sort of situation we're in, to see if we're going to break all of our next things. Obviously, I don't think 1 hour is going to change anything, but ceteris paribus, as all things being equal, as we're going on right now, these should be resistance points as I see it. So similar situation with Bitcoin for the market cipher. So I'll hide symbol significance. It's a bit messy for now. Yeah, I'll hide it for now. So if we zoom in, we can see we have a pretty much one-to-one replica of what Bitcoin is doing right now. We can see momentum is in a pretty much similar situation. We're above the 60 mark, an arbitrary number of saying, yeah, basically this is going to be a negative movement. This is accurate. I could demonstrate it down here, but I'm not going to bother. So momentum is in a good position to suggest a negative movement. VWAP is negative and continually going downwards, which is also a similar situation, or in a similar healthy situation to suggest a negative movement for Ethereum. And if we zoom in, we can see, just like Bitcoin, our money flow is still coming upwards. So as I said, I'm going to say the same thing with Ethereum. Obviously, I'm going to go to the 4 hour. So expect me to say the same thing. As I said with Bitcoin, when I was on the 1 hour, we had, pretty terribly negative an outlook on market cipher. As I said, I want to come back to it at 9 p.m. Or 9 p.m. my time. I think that's GMT +2. I'm not going to lie. I don't know exactly. But in 28 minutes, that is. Yeah, in 28 minutes, I'm going to go back to Bitcoin. So yeah, just letting you guys know. But anyway, similar situation with Bitcoin, like I said, 1 hour with pretty negative. We just need a candle or two of negativity or negative momentum for our money flow to come down and come negative properly. But again, like I say all the time, market cipher is just a directional tool. Obviously, I know it's a lagging indicator, and the best way of doing analysis, one-to-one accuracy, is looking at candles and how they move. But anyway, if we see, market cipher, you need a candle for it to actually properly print out how it's supposed to come as an action. So it is lagging, so we do need to give it a candle. But as money flow starts to come down as well, we'll be completely negative and probably move down to our next support point. But go to the 4 hour, see what sort of situation we're in. Same thing. I'm not even going to say too much. Bitcoin did the same thing. VWAP was coming upwards, money flow was coming upwards, momentum was coming upwards, and was nearly at the 60 mark. So same thing, like I said, we should come to our order block, and then maybe see some negativity, possibly. But again, I'll probably have to do more analysis upon reaching the order block to see if we were going to go above it or not, seeing what sort of situation we're in. But yeah, like I said with Bitcoin, I'm going to go back to it at 9 to see what sort of situation the 1 hour is in terms of the money flow. So as I see it, we have some sort of negativity on the 1 hour, and like I said, we probably might move down a bit on the 1 hour and then move upwards. I'm not going to waffle. It's the same situation as Bitcoin basically. So yeah, let me go to Solana now, see what sort of situation we're in. Okay, let me extend these long because this is looking pretty good. It seems like what I drew was pretty accurate. So what's this? Real devil. A lot of things we're idiots. Wait, what's this? Spend $50 to earn $25. Oh, are these scam ones? Yeah. There's tons of these. That's the problem. Problem is with this certain place, in terms of their chat, there's no proper automatic link removal or spam removal or anything. So we have to do it manually, and obviously, we're not doing that right now because I'm doing a live stream. So these guys will just be spamming. Don't really listen to any of these guys doing these codes and stuff. It's just waffle. It just ruins the chat. They're complete scams. But anyway, going back to Solana. So as you can see, I drew this quite a while ago. I can't remember, what was the guy's name? There was a guy. If you are here right now, say hello. We had it was actually quite in depth. He was talking a lot in the chat about situations with Solana and whatnot, and us coming down and crashing and whatnot. Obviously, that's already been happened. But I drew this. Let me see what's going on. It was very negative actually at that time. But I had these two areas of support. I don't know why I drew this one. I don't think it was really an order block or anything, but I drew it anyway. We kind of used it as support, kind of bounced up, but obviously we did really break below everything. We were very negative. Obviously, I think if I go back to Bitcoin, we'll probably have negative movement. I think it was just a general negativity in the market. So we did break below a lot of things, but I did think this, me and him were talking. I said, I think 173 will be the lowest we see. Obviously, we dipped below, that happened, but we did come back really rapidly to the 173 mark and use it as support. Obviously, we did use supports and as resistance. Obviously, the midpoint of these blocks and these two, basically, this order block was brilliant as resistance. This has been one of my best ever looking order blocks I think I've ever seen. Look, order block was over here. It formed when this Fibonacci areas were drawn. It's literally the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. This is amazing. It's so accurate. But anyway. So we had these really accurate looking order blocks here, especially this one. Even here, we came to the direct midpoint of this order block and used the lowest point as resistance. This is beautiful. But regardless, what sort of situation we're in? So we're kind of in this range. We are now using this as support. Obviously, as you can see, if I draw it out pretty accurately, we can see, since it's an order block, it is now probably a breaker block it went from an order block to breaker block to order block now. So as you can see, we went to the midpoint. I'm gonna change it back to white. Went to the midpoint, came below, and then surged up, entered back in, and then using it as support. So we used it as resistance, but then we surged. Let me move that. Oh crap. There we go. We now we went above, surged up, and then we entered back in this kind of area. And then they're now using it as support. So we've got this it's a support area. Whether it be too strong or not is definitely up to what we can see. So now it is looking pretty telegraphed in terms of what's going on right now. We've got, this is a 1 hour. I will look at the 4 hour. I do need to preface that. VWAP, we are negative and going downwards. Money flow is pretty heavily coming downwards. We are above the 60 mark and our momentum is coming downwards. Every single part of market cipher on the 1 hour is telling us we're going to come down. Obviously, we've had 2 candles of movement downwards. So on the 1 hour, before looking at the 4 hour, we should have a movement downwards, maybe towards our support point. We could maybe go below, but I'd have to look, at the 4 hour to see how negative we are, to see if we're going to properly crash. So as I see it right now on the 1 hour, if I didn't look at anything else, I would just say short. That could be a possibility. I did say on Bitcoin and Ethereum on the 1 hour, I think we will move downwards maybe a tiny bit before we go back upwards again, just as like a rung test. Mike talks about ladders a lot. When we can't go up forever, we need to test supports and different areas as support to be, to make sure we're actually moving up properly. So it will only really, in this case, obviously it's going to be towards this probably support point down here. With Ethereum and Bitcoin, like I said, it's probably going to be with it, it might not be the direct lowest point before the surge, aka the breaker block. but it might be a point within the price movement as support. So we'll probably have this moving downwards, but I do need to look at the 4 hour to see what's going on. So again, similar situation, money flow is coming upwards, momentum is coming upwards, but our VWAP is starting to come downwards. So this is the first signs, this is the seed of negativity in terms of the 4 hour. So similar with Ethereum and Bitcoin had the same, so it's a no video, it's probably a bit of lag. So yeah, anyway. Ethereum and Bitcoin had the exact same charts, same market ciphers and everything. I haven't actually looked at market cipher in terms of the VWAPs or the EMAs yet, actually. I haven't actually looked at some significance. I probably should have done that. I'll go back to it, whatever. But anyway, you know, the, what's it called? The momentum is in a similar situation, slightly above the 60 mark, still coming upwards. Money flow is also still coming upwards. It's rounding out a bit, but it's still coming upwards. VWAP, however, you know, it's unlike, there we go, that's the word. There's sometimes I never think of the right word to say because I'll think of 5 words to say for the same thing. But unlike Ethereum and Bitcoin, VWAP is actually coming down. It's been coming down for a while. So as I've said previously, if we continue to see negative movement for VWAP, momentum will start to come down and then money flow starts to come down. So again, it's probably also looking like we might have a movement downwards. Again, this is over the 4 hour, so this will be stronger and take longer. So as we move downwards, we might see ourselves, we might come towards $173, but it does depend on what Bitcoin and everything else does. We might, you know, not use this as support, but we'll have to see. Because we were using it as support back here, but we were easily came right back down below. So this is kind of a midpoint. So I do like to talk about midpoints actually. So if you notice, actually I'll probably do it to the midpoint, it's probably a bit better. Yeah, perfect. So this arrow here between this percentage movement is the midpoint of this area. I do talk about midpoints when we're in a range very, very often now because I do like to look at them because they are normally decently accurate. Now, you know, you might, you know, if you kind of squint your eyes here, we can see we've been basically coming up, you know, coming down, bouncing, coming up. Obviously, I'm not saying we should come down, but we're in this kind of range here. This, this kind of range over here. We've been, you know, between this 12% area. And in ranges, obviously, you've got a high point of a range and a low point of a range. And then obviously, you've got a middle point. So basically, this big grey box, which we have, you know, in the middle over here, is basically our midpoint for this range. So we will be using the midpoint as resistance and support slightly. But what I can probably see ourselves is actually coming below it and maybe coming towards $773, which is what I said previously on the last stream, or last stream, whenever it was, when I properly had an in-depth look at Solana. I said 173 was going to be a huge support point, and it was definitely going to be where we stayed to. Now, if we actually look at the 4 hour, which we're on right now, we can see that we actually had some significance tell us, maybe at the time, that 167 was where we came to properly for our support point. But anyway, yeah, going back to my overall analysis, if we continue to move how I see we might move, similar to how everything else is, we'll probably have a come downwards, maybe towards 173. I'm not sure. We'll have to see what Bitcoin and Ethereum do. You know, midpoints, like I always go on about midpoints. Midpoints can actually be pretty strong. So the lowest we might see is maybe $184. But you know, I wouldn't keep $173 off the cards in terms of how low we can go, especially since Bitcoin and Ethereum both have a similar situation where we still, like Bitcoin's the main one, we still have a bit of movement upwards before we reach the order block. But I think that order block, which I've already pointed out, is going to be pretty strong resistance, which is when we touch that and then come downwards. So by the time Solana might reach our midpoint, Bitcoin might reach its order block and then start to come downwards, which means the market will start to move downwards, which means we probably might come towards $173. That's why I'm saying don't keep it off the cards, but also don't keep it in your main hand, if you know what I mean. So I think we might see some movement down for Solana anyway, regardless, because we are at a really strong resistance point, because we've bounced off it perfectly twice now, this order block. So I think we're really going to see proper resistance here and come down. So we're going to come down for Solana, I think, personally. So I'll probably short. I might short actually. I'm pretty confident in this. But again, I'll wait till 9 o'clock. I'll wait for 15 minutes and see what happens in terms of if we actually move down or not. I want to see what everything else is doing before we do it. But if we do have continuous negativity on you know, when our 1 hour candles change, I'm going to short Solana, I think. I think we're in a good situation to short a tiny bit, considering what I can see right now. But yeah, we'll see, I suppose. That's why I said I'm going to wait a tiny bit, wait 15 minutes. So now I'm actually going to go on to Flocky, Slurf, and then the other three. So I'm going to be a bit faster now because Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, I do look at them quite in depth. But I'm going to go on a tiny bit now on the other 2 coins and then the coins I've been suggested. So the next one is small correction in soon ETH. Yes, similar with Bitcoin, like I said. So yeah, Kishan, I think we're going to have, I'll quickly go back to the chart. I think we'll have a small correction. I think you're right. As you can see, we're basically bounced off our order block now. And as you can see with Market Cipher, as I went into it, I'm going to wait till what happens on 9 o'clock. And we're kind of hovering right now. We did come below, but we're still kind of staying up right now. So if I draw it in a really exaggerated tone, we've come up, we might, we're kind of doing this right now and then waiting for ourselves to come down. So I think give it a candle print, see what happens with all this. If money flow starts to come down, I think we might come, but I don't think, but this, I don't know how much of a support point this was, but I think we might use this point down here to about 2% maybe. So I think there is going to be a small correction in ETH before we come upwards again. But this is on the 1 hour anyway. So on the 4 hour, like I said, I think we might move upwards again to the order block and then come down, similar with Bitcoin. But I think we will have a small correction with ETH soon, definitely. Okay, so Flocky now. So I haven't looked at this in a while. Yeah, I looked at this ages ago. Yeah, this was a while ago. I will ignore that. So yeah, let's pretend that's not there because I don't even know what I'm looking at. Where are we? All right, there we go. Let's make this a bit normal. So we've got a quite close-knit symbol significance or support and resistance points. So nothing too crazy to move. It does depend on how easy we break out of it. So if we look at our EMAs, we've been holding on to these stronger EMAs pretty heavily. Obviously, our 21 days catching up a bit to use as proper support and or resistance. We are coming down a bit though. If I hide Market Cipher, I don't really like looking at it. It's pretty ugly. We've actually got complete negativity right now. I know this wasn't at the 60 mark, but it was basically there. So it still sees some sort of negative. Like even over here, you can see, we came down. We had negative movement, even though it wasn't at the 60 mark. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was negative movement. We've had VWAP coming down for ages now. Money flow is coming downwards and momentum. So we're going to have negative movement, probably staying as support. So nothing crazy, maybe 2.3%. Obviously, Flocky's a bit lower. So in terms of the 1 hour, I don't think we might move I don't think we're going to move too crazy down. But like I said, Market Cipher tells us what sort of direction we're going to move in. But support and resistance points and whatnot, maybe EMAs if you consider them as well, kind of tell us what prices we're going to be moving to. So even though we're terribly negative on Market Cipher, suggesting we're going to come crazily down, we don't really have too much movement downwards before we hit like a support point, which is right here anyway. So most I see right now in terms of the 1 hour is 2.5% move. We maybe could test the bottom of it, which might be 3.3, but I don't really think anything crazy. Maybe 2.5%, like I said. So that's on the 1 hour. There's nothing really too much to say on the 1 hour. If I maybe zoom in, maybe there's any like order blocks. I don't think so. Yeah, there's nothing really too interesting on the previous price action. So yeah, that's kind of on the 1 hour. It's already negative, but it's already kind of coming down, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go to the 4 hour, see what's really going on. Because I think the 4 hour will be a bit more interesting. Okay, here we go. So we're basically in the midpoint of our range right now. So if I draw the range of where we are, please. There we go. So the midpoint's here. So we've kind of been on and off with it, kind of using it as resistance, and now we're above it now. So we might use it. We might use it as a support point, possibly now. But anyway, let me look at what's going on. So this is also kind of backing up the scenario that we're not really going to move too crazy down. We also have this price point kind of uses, which we're kind of bouncing off right now, but it doesn't matter. If I look back quickly, okay, interesting. Okay, let's see how applicable this is now. So order block, let's see how good it was. We use it as support, came down, tested it, and now using resistance. So this is actually now a bearish breaker block, which you're now using as resistance. So we're in a pretty tough situation when it comes to this right now. Again, similar with how the fact that with how Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, we're having negative movements downwards. I do think we might move downwards. So you know what? Again, like this is what I say. I always look at the 1 hour because it's faster paced. but I want to see what the 1 hour says before going into the 4 hour. You can do it. You can do it either way, but I want to see what I want to see what's going on first before I see what's going on. So okay, so we're actually using the bottom areas of support, which is kind of weird. But this obviously simple significance draws really fast. So this support point might actually not really be too crazy, but we definitely do have this midpoint down here, which we'll probably use as support and or resistance. But we've been using it as support and resistance pretty easily now. So I do think it will be support, which is basically very close to where to here on. So this midpoint, it's basically so if I draw actually, this will be easy to see. If I draw the midpoint here, so we can see that the midpoint, the difference between the midpoint and the actual line I have drawn as support are not too far away. They're pretty close. So again, and nothing is 100% accurate, 50%. So this might be our area where we have it right now, which is basically where our support point has been drawn. So I'm actually gonna extend this out a bit to here and remove this midpoint and go back to the 4 hour. Perfect. So now it lines up, the 1 hour and the 4 hour line up. So going back to where we are right now, we have positive momentum. It's coming upwards. We're not really, we're kind of hovering. Green dot, red dot, green dot, red dot. Never like seeing this, but we are coming upwards. Especially, money flow and VOP all pretty much coming upwards. So we should be pretty positive right now in terms of Mark Cipher. But again, Mark Cipher doesn't tell us to exact point. It doesn't. It tells us the direction, not the price. And we do have resistance right here, which will be, what we have right now. So it's a tough situation, but I think we might stay in between our midpoint or this support point and this high point up here. But we could slip below again and, probably use something else as support. Obviously, we kind of had this kind of gap here, fair value gap, which we are still using as support. Let me just validate that actually. Yeah, we kind of did actually. So we had, we were in negative. We had, lower lows and whatnot. It's like boom, 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 and then we stayed above. We actually stayed above. So this is our structure shift. I still need to make sure this is a proper structure shift, but we had lower lows, as you can see, and then we started to print above it. We actually completely printed above it. It wasn't just like a wick above it, it was a printed above it. So this is we structurally shifted. Our structure was a negative structure. We had lower low structure, and then we actually shifted above. And then, so you want to see a market structure shift before fair value gap, which actually validates it. And obviously, lo and behold, fair value gap formed, used the midpoint, and then used its support. But what's interesting, obviously, I know the fair value gap scenario, it is for charts, but whenever I look at like people talk about fair value gaps, it's normally when they look at forex and whatnot and actual like structured markets. But this is structured market. But with crypto, whenever I draw these fair value gaps, they always you enter it and they always do go back upwards. But they normally use it as a support point more so than really anything else. So to basically say that, it's basically this is support. This is probably a support point. So this midpoint at basically 0.00205 and 0.00022 are going to be support points. So even if we break below this point of this midpoint which we had, we don't really have too much. Obviously, I know this is higher percentages. It's about 8.8%, but I don't think that's going to be anything crazy. So I think we'll move down, similar to how everything else is. But again, we have a similar situation where everything's coming upwards, similar with Bitcoin and whatnot. So I think we might have possibility of maybe surging above the breaker block and using it as support, and then maybe have a good wick upwards. But yeah, this is kind of the situation I see. It's quite hard to say for sure what's going on, but take your judgment as you will based on what I've said. So be careful. But yeah, we have close support points and a very, very close resistance point. So it's hard to say. It's a bit like a pressure cooker. I do always use that actually as an analogy. So now I'm going to this crap coin, which I don't really care about. So okay, this was how was this? Okay, this didn't work because we just hovered. Where did we hover? Actually, let me go to. Okay, I need to look at the 1 hour because there's no detail in the slightest. I also can't go back. Okay, you know what? I'll do the 30-minute, I guess. Then there's no. Okay, this is the problem. Whenever a new chart comes out, things break. Things are just broken. So we bounced off this price point. This was apparently a support point. Beats me. There we go. I'm gonna have to go on the 4 hour. Here we go. So I can't really go into detail why this was a support point, but apparently it was. So I'm gonna just delete this, pretend it wasn't there. We did kind of use, we didn't really go near this, but we actually used the outer point of this kind of expanding, whatever the hell this was called, I can't remember. This downwards trend, we basically used it as support then, as a support line. And now we kind of we then hovered here, and then we're now coming upwards. So it seems like we've changed our trend. I'm actually, okay, there we go. So we're quite differed away from our trend line, which does coincide with the fact that VUP's coming downwards. Okay, this is good. So we might see a setup for negative movement for Slurf. So obviously Slurf, I actually don't know what the cap is. I don't know how rapidly it moves, but you can see by these percentages, it does move pretty crazy. But VWAP, I always say this, VWAP, it has to move in a certain direction before momentum, before money flow. So if the VWAP continues to go downwards, our momentum will probably cross to the 60 mark and then start to come downwards, and our money flow starts to come downwards. But we're on the 1 hour, so things might matter. Momentum might matter more than anything else. So we might see soon a negative movement for Slurf, which would coincide with pretty much everything else we've said. Where I've said pretty much the entire stream, I've said on every coin that on the 1 hour we're going to have negative movement, and then on the 4 hour we probably have bullish or positive and then negative. But obviously the 4 hour, it does. I'm not going to even bother looking at the 4 hour. I think on the one, I think soon we will probably touch our trend line. But again, I don't really see any other areas. Actually, though, we kind of have. This isn't really an order block per se, but it kind of is. So I'm going to use it as one. We actually might have this as support. So we do need to bear that in mind. We actually might stray away from this trend line and maybe come towards the midpoint, which would be a 6.83%. So we'll have to be careful here. But I think this was actually pretty decent in terms of slightly high, slightly similar height on the candles here. We had a similar situation back here. It's just these aren't really accurate. I kind of have to do things a bit unorthodox to actually make anything out of anything with these coins. This was a definite resistance point up here for sure. You can see the midpoint there. So that's definitely going to be some sort of resistance. So we've got some resistance levels above us, and obviously support as we go. So we do have the trend line, which we could come back to. If I bring Market Cipher back, we do have our EMAs, which are actually sitting within our support points. So, I might change my analysis of coming down to the trend line to this support point here. So I think soon, as things change, I think we might hover a bit more, maybe come upwards a bit and then come down. So yeah, just bear that in mind. I think we might come upwards a bit. If we were to come upwards, maybe I'm trying to see if there's anything consistent. I think we might come up a tiny bit more and then come downwards for Slurf. So maybe get ready to short. Similar how everything else is moving. Everything else is looking like we might move downwards a bit in the market. So yeah, that's my analysis. I can't really talk too much crazy because I can only really look at the 1 hour with it to be in detail. So I think we might move a bit down though. Maybe testing as support because we had a huge candle upwards. It's about nearly a 10% move for one candle, and obviously now we're hovering a bit. So I think this hovering is basically the charts are realizing we haven't really we're quite far away now. It's kind of scary. So probably coming down to test and then going upwards. Just testing as a rung. So maybe if we change the action of if we change to make a really exaggerated trend line, maybe coming towards the top, which if you kind of like close your eyes and imagine what's going to happen, coming downwards would probably match us up with the midpoint. So I think the midpoint of this rectangle would be where our support point is going to be, which we'll come down to test to. So get ready for maybe a 6% move down for Slurf. So if you are bet on that 10x 60% or 60% profit, could be pretty good. If I put a stop loss, I don't really like. I do like trading lower cap coins because they do move pretty nice. But yeah, if you want a 2% risk to reward or 2 risk to reward, I'm trying to see if there's any other support points. If you wanted a 1-to-1, that could be pretty decent from where we wicked to. So yeah, just be careful, I guess. Just be careful. Kishan said something really good though. He said, "Never ask when you can earn." Exactly. So stop for all the people there. I don't care. I do not care what your story is. I don't want to be rude, but I really don't care what your story is. You could say, I don't know. I don't know you. You could say anything. I don't care what your story is. Okay, maybe ask me a question. If you don't have the money, just go like earn it. I'm not going to give you $5. Why should I give you $5? Give me 10 reasons. No, maybe not 10. Give me 6 reasons. Just give me some reasons. What are the reasons for giving you money? My morality, maybe. That's one reason. I want 4 more reasons. You're not going to give me them. So either I understand, obviously, exchange rates and different locations of living, and depending on what sort of money you might earn, but I'm not going to give you money. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to draw charts based on coins you asked for. So I believe it was David. What was his name? It was David. Probably there's so many names going past, but I believe his first name was David as his name on the chat. So David asked for 3 coins, and I'm about to cover these 3 coins. So he might trade on these coins and earn a return on it. So even if you had a tiny bit of money, everything is relative because it's percentage based. So if you're earning 60% on what you earn, obviously, depending on what you earn in your job, will depend on what you can buy. So if you don't earn a lot, then you can still buy, because everything in each individual economy, obviously currencies cost different depending on other currencies, because there's different purchasing power based on military power and size of country. That's what obviously basically fiat currency is trusting in the government. So obviously I don't know why I'm going on about economics, but basically what you can buy for your currency locally, hopefully if your economy is slightly good, will buy you what you can get. So the percentages, so instead of earning $5, instead of earning a static amount of money on trading, you earn a percentage. So it means what you put in, if you translated the value of your currency from where you are to the value of my currency from where I am, it might mean the same thing to each of us, but the return you'll get will mean the same to us if you're trying to get what I mean. So percentage trading, obviously, it's a percentage. It will mean more to you no matter what currency you're using, depending on where you live. So just use what you have and trade on what I'm talking to you about. Just use what I'm trying to talk to you about. And obviously, I have screenshots upon screenshots of good trades. Obviously, I do have screenshots of bad trades. And I do need to preface this. I do joke all the time that I am the oracle. I never get a trade wrong. It is a facade. Although I do a lot of good trades. Okay, my analysis is pretty decent. But I do have a lot of winning trades. If I went to my trading list, I will have some losses, but the majority of my wins will be trades. Or what? The majority of my trades will be wins. So obviously, it doesn't matter what percentage it is. As long as you're winning, you're winning. So I win more than I lose, which is what you need to do. You need to win more than you lose. So no matter what you do, if I statistically won more than I lost, which I do, I trade, and I win more than I lose. So just listen. It's not financial advice. That's the thing. You need to make sure what I'm saying. If you want to follow a chart of what I'm saying, you need to make sure it's off your own judgment and whatnot. But just make sure. Just maybe ask me to cover a coin, maybe a higher percentage moving coin, which has some history to it, which moves higher, like Pife, for example. I like Pife. It moves a good percentage and it has history behind it where it's not going to completely wick crazy. And it follows Bitcoin. That's my source, okay? That's one of my sources. One of my homemade source is I do analysis on Bitcoin and I trade Pife because they do the same thing. I kid you not, they do the same thing. And I've made so many wins on Pife. Pife is like one of my main winning coin. But yeah, just ask me to cover a coin and I'll draw a chart for you. So I'm about to move on to GHX now, as per David's request, and the other two. I'm going to draw his charts. He might say, this is his judgment, this is his financial, suggestion. If I draw a chart and if I do something and I say it might go down, and I give a lot of, because all I do really is I read the data which I have in front of me and say what I think is going to happen. That's all I really do. I don't really do too much. I just have a setup here, and then he can go take my analysis and go, I off my judgment want to use this analysis to make a trade. He might win, he might lose. This is why I always have to press this. This is not financial advice. It's not my fault if you lose. You have to take this, because I lose sometimes. I'm not 100% right all the time. No one's 100% right, ever. So if he takes that judgment and he wins, then that's brilliant. So just try it, okay? Just try trade. Stop asking for $5. I'm not going to give you $5. All this waffle was to basically come to the outcome of me saying, I'm not going to give you $5. So there you go. I'll give you $5. So GHX, let's see. It's on my chart drawing area, which I love. Okay, perfect. So it's got actual candles. It's got price history. This is good. So we do also look like we're in a, so it actually looks like we printed above this, what was a resistance point. So we could maybe see ourselves, and we're actually also staying above our EMAs, which is good. So let's see what's going on. So we have positive money flow. Similar situation, I think this is similar with Flocky, or whichever one it was, where we have positive money flow, positive momentum, but a negative VWAP. So what I'm seeing here, I'm just going to guess. Well, not guess. I'm just going to do an immediate analysis. I think it's going to do something like this, where we're going to come a bit above this support point, test it as support, and then come upwards. And I say this because EMA momentum, we're on the 1 hour, so we're kind of in a medium between what VWAP matters and the momentum and the money flow. So money flow and VWAP, money flow and momentum are coming upwards. So we still have some positive movement, aka this slight move upwards for the price. And I think if the VWAP continues to go downwards, we'll come to the 60 mark and then start to become negative on the momentum, which is this. Okay, I'm actually going to number this. So, okay, let me draw this. I want to be accurate here. So let's zoom in so we can really see what's going on. So we're going to have movement upwards. This is step one. So this is step one, where money flow and momentum continue to go upwards. Step two, where the VWAP continues to come downwards, which means we will hover a bit like this. And if it continues to do that, and then the money flow and the momentum crosses the 60 mark and then comes downwards, and the money flow follows, we will come downwards towards our support point, keeping it as support. And then by the time that happens, since our money flow and whatnot, and our momentum actually isn't actually that high. It's not like if it was at the 100 mark and it starts to come down, we would immediately crash and completely come below this support point. Obviously, it does actually depend on if we actually stay above and print above this support point, because we actually could just not stay above it. So we do need to bear that in mind. But this is in the scenario that we print and stay above this support point. By the time we test back, momentum will be at the neutral mark, where we can then start to come upwards again, and then probably stay up. So I think we might have this. I think we might have a slight movement like this. This is my initial guess. Now, obviously, this candle isn't updating that fast, but we've quickly wicked down. Obviously, the candle only printed 6 minutes ago, so we're going to have, this happens all the time. No matter what candle it is, we're going to have quick movements like this. We're going to have quick, relative to what we've moved previously, we're going to have these quick wicks. But regardless, I'm actually going to look back quickly as well to see if we've got any EMAs, or not EMAs, sorry, the order blocks or anything of the sort previously, which we have used as support and resistance. It doesn't seem like there is anything. Maybe here. I might draw this actually. There we go. So we kind of have something here. We used it. We tested above it, came below, and then I did use it as resistance. So we do have a resistance point here. So that's unfortunate. So it actually might align up to be something like this. Now, obviously, order blocks are never 100% accurate, but it depends on depending on how much bullish movement we have. You could have this bouncing off both, and then coming up here and then coming down again, or we'll change the, and then actually I'm just gonna draw it again, whatever. So boom, 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 and then boom coming upwards here. So it does depend on what the market situation is, depending on what time it is. Time is up, time is up. No, time's fine. I need to draw these two charts. So we could have something like this. So we do need to be careful based on this order block here, which we basically use it as resistance for a long, or we use it as resistance only really once, maybe twice. So again, like I said, it might not be anything too serious, but we just need to bear it in mind. But we only really, let me see. We only really tested this as support, as resistance like once. So, be careful there. But from what I'm seeing, we will have some moving upwards. Now, it is, it will probably move at higher percentages. So midpoint is the max I see if we don't cross it. So if we assume the worst, which is we stay at least below the midpoint, the highest movement we can have from right now is about 6.5% move up for GHX. Now, this also just depends on if Bitcoin and whatnot, they're all starting to move upwards. And if we're having really positive movements, we could probably have a surge upwards for Gamercoin, testing it as support, being breaker block, and then coming upwards towards the next resistance point being 0.29 or 29 cents, which would give us a 20% move upwards. So if we see this is technically a range, this whole thing here, this is probably like the midpoint roughly here. We are at the lowest point. Now we just need to stay. We just need to stay printed above and using this support point confidently. But like I said, we need to stay there. And I think we'll have this sort of movement for the white lines. So for David, I think we are going to stay above this. Hopefully, stay above this because we've never had this. We can see every time we've come to this support point, resistance point, we've just hit it by a tiny bit and come right back down. But this time we've actually come above it and we've printed above it. So we actually might now use it as support. So this might be a turning point for Gamercoin. We are now using it as support to come upwards and give some profit. So logging now might not be a bad idea. Not financial advice. We've got 2 other coins to cover. So maybe place your bets on something else. Because we do have other resistance points very high. Market life is kind of in a rough situation. So but it could have moving upwards. At least it should have some movement upwards at least of 6.5% maybe. But I'm quickly look at the 4 hour, see what sort of position we're in. Okay, so basically, simple significance is not liking this chart. Yeah, okay, so there's not enough data to suggest if we have support resistance. So we're going to have to freestyle our own support resistances. But it looks like we're kind of in the same situation, though. Can I have something here? Maybe. Let me draw it across there. Because you've got kind of equal candles, kind of use it as support. And then we slip below, but it didn't really matter. And then we're kind of not really using it too accurately. So it's not really too accurate. I'm going to ignore this one. It's not really too accurate. But if I did use it, we would be using it as support right now. So, could be using it as support and then coming upwards. But, money flow starts to come upwards. VWAP is pretty high right now, but our momentum is also coming upwards. And we're nowhere near the 60 mark. So this is slightly bullish, pretty bullish, not too crazy negative or anything. So I think we could see signs of going up for Gamercoin. So, and considering we've just really crossed the resistance point right now in this initial candle, we could, if we stay above it, like I said, actually move upwards. Because it's been really rough. Our momentum has been negative the entire time. We've actually now crossed it to do with the surge and everything going upwards. So we could see positive signs for Gamercoin. But like I said, or like we've said through the stream, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're all going to have negative, quick, shorter, quite shorter term retracements in the price or retracements in the price, whatever. And then using to test the support and then go upwards again. So in that case, we could use the midpoint of here as support and then come upwards again, but it does depend. I'm going to look at the other coins though. So yeah, let's be careful of that one. Okay, well I can't look at there, so I'm going to look at here, this platform here. Okay, so again, money flow coming upwards, momentum's coming upwards, not quite 60. So similar situation again with how we had with other coins. So let's go to the 1 hour and see what's going on these shorter term. We're very close to this resistance point here, not too far away. We've kind of got slightly equal candle height there. So if we drew that across slightly about here, we could see we are using it as resistance here. So we're basically at a resistance point. On the shorter term, on the 1 hour, we're over the 60 mark, momentum's coming downwards. VWAP is how money flow is actually starting to come upwards with VWAP as well. So we're kind of hovering. As you can see, when you've got like negative, what's the word for it? When you've got conflicting data, basically, momentum's coming downwards, however, money flow and VWAP coming upwards. You can see we've been hovering. We don't, money's coming in, VWAP's positive. The average price is going upwards. So things are going upwards. However, momentum's coming down. So we're kind of in this mid situation right now where we're kind of just hovering, especially since the fact that our money flow was directly like this. It was directly neutral, which is basically our trend of what's going on. So we can see it's been neutral for a bit and where prices have been neutral. So what I could see maybe happening is maybe coming down towards, EMAs to test as support. But I don't really think we're going to have too much positive movement. I really don't think we're going to have positive movement for Flux. Especially, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum are all coming down in the shorter term on the 1 hour. We've got this order block above us as resistance. We've got the actual resistance point above us, which we've used like 4 times now. We've not got really much room to grow in terms of Flux, especially since that we're actually having negative potential on the market cypher. So on the 1 hour, I think we might move down. Where to? Maybe max. I don't really know if we'll come down 6%. Maybe towards the midpoint, maybe towards 3%. Possibly 4%, depending on where the EMAs are. But I don't really think we might move down as much as 6%. Probably 4% down movement and then maybe coming back upwards again to coincide with how Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana are moving on the 4 hour. See how it goes there. Quick look at the 4 hour though. Again, money flow is coming upwards. It's, again, similar situation. Money flow, we're coming in, which is positive. View up or momentum coming upwards, not 60 yet, so not quite negative. View up is coming downwards. But again, we do have this pretty nasty resistance point. And this is even stronger actually, because you can see, we came right up to it, and for 4 hours we stayed here as resistance, and we're staying here again. So, we could see some negative movement again, like I said, for Flux. In terms of where to, I'm trying to see if there's any order blocks or anything of the sort to keep us as a support point. I'm kind of seeing, obviously there's something over here, which we kind of, flipped in and out of. We're kind of using it as support, here for example. So that could be kind of strong, maybe. I think the best, we could maybe have something here, because we kind of used it here and here, maybe support. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say. I might draw a line here though, because we used it 3 times, which is actually nearly the midpoint of this range. So yeah, so I think we probably will have some sort of movement downwards for Flux, but nothing too crazy. Especially, but on the 4 hour, it's even worse because we're just stuck below this kind of area for Flux. So no really positive movement I see for Flux right now. Obviously, it depends on what happens tomorrow and whatnot. But yeah, so probably some sort of negative movement for Flux. Seeing as though we've kind of been hovering, had a positive, we had neutral right now, and then probably some sort of negative movement down to support, giving us, like I said, this 3.2% move downwards. Due to these support points, or these resistance points are now going to be support. So probably a 3.2% move downwards for Flux. The last one is now Manta. So we'll see what's going on Manta. So this will be the last coin. If you've just joined, yeah, sorry about that. But if you've been in the stream, you've had enough time hopefully to suggest a coin. So yeah, there's not really much more to say. So we've actually printed twice, nearly 3 times. Actually no, we've printed 4 times above this support point. So we've actually properly broken above this support point. Actually, have we? Maybe. We've been pretty consistent above it. We've kind of hovered. Okay, I don't know. I don't want to say anything too proper right now. Well, actually, I'm going to test something though. I will actually try and use this as this area here. There we go. See if we have other resistance points and whatnot. We actually kind of do. It kind of does line up pretty accurately, like here, for example. For these, they're never ending. Yeah, I know they're never ending, but I put a limit on it, so don't worry. Oops. Okay, so there we go. So we've kind of got, maybe these. I'm gonna ignore it because I can't bother to have it on the screen. But we've kind of got those. I did that for Solana. It did work pretty well, putting the fib levels on an aware point. Oh, here, as I was speaking, I noticed this. We actually crossed it and used it as support. So we've got bullish support below. So I think we're actually above this. I think we're actually above the support point for real now. But concerningly, money flow or momentum is above the 60 mark and is starting to arc. We're starting to show signs of negativity. As you can see, VUP's been coming down for a while now. We can see that the difference between the 2 wave lines is actually getting really close now, maybe towards the negative side of things. Money flow is also neutral, so we could see some negative movement from Manta again, pretty much with every single other thing. AKA, this negative movement, we might see something like this, where we come up where we are right now, testing this area of support, maybe the midpoint, and then coming upwards. Interestingly, the actual midpoint of the simple significance support point is, near this top point, but the 2% padding, which I always talk about, is actually coincides really accurately with the breaker block's midpoint, which is normally where you look at the breaker block, you normally look at the midpoint as like the main area. So I'm going to draw that as worst case scenario, and then probably come upwards again. Similar with how everything's going on, every single coin is pretty much, it's going down and testing tomorrow and testing support, and then coming upwards again, I think. So pretty much every coin is doing the same thing, I think. So bit of negative movement for Manta. Worst case, like I said, worst case, probably 2.6%, and then coming upwards. Again, if I draw the fib levels, I'll probably just draw like, actually, I think you're supposed to draw it like this, aren't you? I think you're supposed to draw it like that, but it's the same thing. They both have the same thing, I think. But anyway. So there you go. So if I draw that there, actually pretty much coincides with all these things over here. You've basically got this area. So if we came from the bottom, if you caught this, if it did come to the bottom, this is worst case scenario. If you went from the bottom as support and came above it, you've got about 6% move upwards for Manta. So I think there's a move down and a move up for Manta. Let's quickly go onto the 4 hour to look at what's going on. Again, same situation, support point, even better now though. The top of our breaker block is actually exactly where the support point is, and the 2% padding is where the midpoint is. So we've got, I think we're definitely above this support point, 100%. Or not financial advice, or not 100%, I don't have a crystal ball, but I definitely think we're above it. So I definitely think we're going to, so also money's coming in, and money flows going up, momentum's going up, VUP is hovering a bit. I think there's positive movement soon for Manta. I think within the next 4 to 8 hours, maybe some movement downwards to test support, and then we come upwards towards maybe $3.33. So I do like this a lot. I do like this trade a lot. If you did 10x, you could probably trade this, maybe get a good return. So David, if I was you, this could be a pretty good one. I think GHX was pretty decent, and Manta is pretty good. Someone said, what is Sol? In terms of what that means, it's Solana. In terms of the chart, I'll quickly bring it up before we end the stream and show you what I was talking about earlier. Oh yeah, I was going to look at Bitcoin, wasn't I? Wait, you've reminded me. Oh, click on one. Crap. Okay, we need to look at Bitcoin actually. I want to see what's going on. Are we negative? Yeah, we're still looking negative though. Yeah, good. That's good. I'm glad we didn't have this, crazy not negative movement. Anyway, go back to the Solana chart. I'll look at the 1 hour though. I'm not going to look at the. I can look at the wrong thing. So for the guy, blogger in crypto, if you asked for the Solana chart, this is kind of the situation. I see what's going on. I'm about to end this. I'm about to end the stream. So if you do want to check what the TA was, just watch it back. If you can't watch it back on the certain platform right now, go to the red channel with the arrow. Go to Google, search our name, you'll find us, and you can watch back what I said about Solana. But yeah, this is kind of the situation we're in. Anyway, I've been streaming for quite a while now. We've had a lot of things. Solana going down. I believe Solana's going down. 1 hour and 4 hour, both pretty negative. So I think Solana might go down. But anyway, thank you, all of you, so much for watching. It's been, I'm glad you can all talk. I'm glad I've seen some comments. Obviously, some people are laughing at the amount of boxes. The boxes are they're just little things to keep the chat going and whatnot. So it's anything special. You're not going to earn like a house from the boxes. And if you did, we wouldn't be here streaming. We'd probably have tens of billions of dollars to just sit around and do nothing with if we were to give away that much money in these boxes. So anyway, thank you, all of you, for being here. The most important part, for the guy who asked for the membership, thank you. If you are considering, becoming a member of the channel, then that means so much. But like I said, just being here and supporting and commenting and just, enjoying the streams, that's all I ask for. Hopefully, all I can ask for is that you can enjoy the stream. And if I made 10 consecutive streams in a row and no one enjoyed them, I'd probably have to stop. But, again, none of it's financial advice. You can take it on as you will. Take the data on as you will. This is all I do is get the data in front of me and draw it out. So your judgment, if you want to trade based off this or not, it's your own judgment. It's not my judgment, it's yours. So yeah, like I said, check the descriptions out, a bunch of links down there. If you want, simple significance or any of the other indicators which I've used on the stream, you can come get them all to the TG. That's what I can say, the TG. So thank you so much, all of you, for watching. And I think I'll see you. I'll see you Tuesday and Wednesday and Saturday. I think I'm doing something Tuesday. If it's not a video, I don't know if it's a stream. I can't remember. I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember. I'm tired. I can't remember what I'm doing Tuesday. I'm doing something Tuesday. If it's a live stream, you'll see me tomorrow. If it's not, you'll see me Wednesday. But with that being said, thank you, each and every one of you, for joining the stream. It does mean a lot that you all spent your time watching. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. So goodbye.
Come on, BTC. Come on, Bitsy. Come on, Bitsy.